time for the November wrap-up, so let's get started. The first book I read was a German one, and I think there's an English translation, but I don't know. I also don't have the book with me right now because it's back home. The German title is Briefe an die chinesische Vergangenheit, and I'm just gonna link it below as per usual. However, I really liked it. It's basically about this Chinese man from 1,000 years ago who time travels into nowadays Germany, and it's really funny. It's also really deep and philosophical at some parts. There were a lot of moments where he just kind of described our behavior nowadays and was wondering why we do it this way, and I didn't know. Like, I couldn't find an answer, which was really interesting. It did take me quite a long time because, as I said, this guy is from 1,000 years ago, so his writing style is rather lengthy and a bit more difficult. The second book I read was for the #Yearathon. It is this one, My Dear Sherlock by Heather Petty, and since it's for the #Yearathon, I'm gonna link the video where I talk about it in detail here and in the links down below. But in general, I like it and I'm looking forward to reading the second part of it. Then I read the second book from the Hogwarts Library collection, which is right here, and I read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, because I also saw the film, but more on that later. Again, it's a really small one, as all of the Hogwarts Library books, and it was kind of funny. It was a nice read, but I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't that interesting. It's basically just a description of some fantastic beasts, and some of the stories are really nice, and some of them are really funny also. It's really interesting to see how much detail J.K. Rowling put into all those things, but it's not really an entertaining read, or at least it wasn't for me. Then I read To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han, and this also really looks really pretty. I think the second part will be out next year and I'm looking forward to reading that. And this is a story about this girl who is, I think, 17, I'm not quite sure. And she wrote letters to the boys she was in love with to kind of fall out of love. And she kept those letters private, but then someone sent those letters out to the boys. And this is about the development of that and how the boys react to it, and how that kind of changes her life and also her love story. And it sounds really cliche and really girly, and it is in some parts. Obviously it's really a love story or multiple love stories, but I just really liked it, and I think it's mostly because of this protagonist, because she's always daydreaming. She's kind of shy but also confident within herself, and she wants to look after people, but she also, as I said, she's daydreaming about adventures and how life could be, and I just really identified with her a lot, and that made reading this really interesting. I was so in this story, and it's really well written. Jenny Han has a really nice writing style that is really beautiful but also really real, so I do really recommend reading this. And as I said, the second part will be out, I think, next year, so I'm also looking forward to reading that one. And then the last book, and yes, I'm gonna say book, I had a lengthy discussion, and comics book do count as books. So the last book was X-Men, the Extraordinary X-Men, Apocalypse Wars, Planet Apocalypse. I'm not quite sure what the actual title of this is, but it's cool. This is the second part of the comics. and therefore I'm not gonna go into too much detail. I'm just gonna say that the Extraordinary X-Men are really, really damn cool. First of all, their leader is Storm. Second of all, there are new characters that have never been anywhere before. And third of all, yeah, it's just really pretty. It's so pretty, like, can you see this? It's so pretty, it's so beautiful. This feels like it's longer than the first part. It did take me quite a long time. It also wasn't as good as the first part, but I think that's just because it was kind of confusing. There's a lot of time travel and also a lot of shifting between time and space, but the characters are so well developed and designed, and yeah, I do really enjoy this. Then on to the films I saw, the first of which is Doctor Strange. And let me just put it like this. I give this film 2 out of 5 stars. One of which is for the design, and the second point, or the second star, is for Sherlock Holmes references. Okay, on to the next one. The second film I saw was X-Men Apocalypse, finally. I missed it in the cinema and I really hated that, so I finally got the chance to see it, and it was so great. I wasn't expecting that much and it just blew me away. Like, those stories are so cool. I was a bit confused because some of the characters kind of weren't at the age I thought they would be, and with like the previous time travels and all that stuff, it was a bit confusing sometimes, but I think that's just because I pay attention to every single little detail, so yeah. But I just think, first of all, I think that Apocalypse, like the bad guy in this one, is different than most villains I've seen before. I think the characters were really well portrayed and really well developed as well. I do love the X-Men Quicksilver. He's such a cool guy, and yeah, I just really enjoyed that film. The film I didn't enjoy that much was The Jungle Book, which is the newly animated version of the old Disney Jungle Book. It was really fascinating visually. It was really like well done. I grew up with the Disney Jungle Book one, and I just, yeah, someone said it's a good film as long as you don't compare it to the old one, and I think that's true. I just can't not compare it, so. And then I saw Fantastic Beasts, the film. As I said, I read the book, and I think those two don't really belong together, mostly because Newt Scamander is kind of, in the film I really loved him. I also loved the actor, but in the film he's just kind of awkward, but in a cute way, and in the book he's not. I just thought it was visually stunning. Those like animals, those fantastic beasts were so beautiful, so yeah, stunning, as I said, just fantastic. The actors were amazing. I think it was really cool that, well, I personally didn't know what would happen and who was on which side and what, yeah, how it would develop. So it was really interesting from beginning to end. I really enjoyed that. There were some plot holes and some like parts of the plot I didn't quite agree with, but I think that's just the case with anything Harry Potter related, because we all have our own like headcanons and fantasies about it. So it's difficult to make anything that everyone will agree with, but I did really enjoy the film. And then finally, Gilmore Girls. Yeah, the new Gilmore Girls season came out, those 4 episodes. There were a lot of things where I thought, okay, this works, but it's not what I had imagined. say I'm still not quite sure what I think about this whole thing and what I think about the character developments, but just in general, I really loved it. I laughed, I cried some more. I called my mom to tell her how much I love her. But I think they did a really good job with this. Okay, that's it for the November wrap up. The second to last of this year, wow, okay. As per usual, let me know which films you saw and which books you read and your opinions on them and all that fun stuff down in the comments below. I always love to read them and have a little chat about it. And yeah, I hope you always have a reason to smile, and I shall see you next week on Sunday. Yeah, I should see you sometime soon. Goodbye.